sitting and thinking, and it just hit me while we had that nice countdown that was built by Victor Javier Corona. That was a good countdown, by the way. I don't know if I ever gave you credit, Victor, but I'll say hello to you in a bit. And I am thinking, okay, the day before Thanksgiving, we're gonna do Gilberto's hour because people are watching football and enjoying time with family. Hopefully, you're doing that. But then I'm thinking maybe everybody's traveling right now, so hopefully we have a good audience today on a Wednesday. The one thing that I always find annoying, people who don't live in LA showing that picture of the 405 freeway, how packed it is the day before Thanksgiving. That's every single day. So don't fall for the trap there. Yeah, traffic sucks here. But hopefully, if you're not traveling, you're joining us here on Gilberto's Hour. Ask us fantasy football questions. If you are, stay safe. Make it there. Enjoy the time with the family. And hopefully, you're watching the replay version here. So, no Thursday night football to break down because, again, we're here on a Wednesday, but we do have 3 football games on Thanksgiving, starting with those mighty Detroit Lions against the Chicago Bears. We also have the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Kind of a stinker, but they're pretty evenly matched. I don't know yet. We'll talk about it here on Gilberto's Hour, your hour too, by the way. And then to the nightcap here, Packers and the Miami Dolphins, which made it to our top 3 games of the week. It's actually a very intriguing game, but we're going to break down in some form or fashion every game on the NFL Week 13 schedule. But again, I am not alone. I'm here with that voice, that Susan voice, the voice of reason, the voice that calms me down whenever I'm going on a rant, or that voice actually has no problem disagreeing with me because we disagree all the time, and that's the beauty of the show here. Victor, how you doing?
Doing good. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And, happy to be here once again. And yeah, it looks like everybody's taping their shows either on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So if you're listening to us on the replay, welcome in. This is what we do on Thursdays after Thursday night football. So it's good to be here tonight on a Wednesday.
Yeah, or maybe people already made it to a destination. If you have, don't be shy. Or maybe you're staying home this year. Sometimes, you gotta talk to your partner, your husband, wife, whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, and figure out what are you gonna do for the holidays. And maybe this year you won and you get to stay at home and enjoy it. But don't be shy. Ask us fantasy football questions, NFL betting questions, anything, even in the pop culture world. That's okay with me too. And also a quick promo because it's going to be a double header here on Compas on the Beat after Gilberto's hour. Make sure to check out What's Up Bolt or Fernando Ramirez and Dan Ramirez. Dan and Dago is his real name, not Dan Ramirez, sorry. Dan and Dago. But yeah, they're going to be breaking down Falcons and the Chargers. Also, do yourself a favor. Check out the replay version of House of Horns. Check us out on audio too, by the way, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's Falcons Chargers. Rams versus those Saints, New Orleans Saints. There you go. NFC South teams for the LA team. So we got a lot of content here. Check out Four Compas from Tuesday's show. A lot of laughs there. Dan was pretty annoyed and agitated, but he made sure to bring me down by highlighting all my terrible picks in Week 12. So a good time on Four Compas. We'll bring back Lunes Live on Monday. But yeah, a little promo there to get started here. But Victor, we got 3 games to break down. We're gonna break down our best bets of the week. Still a very tight race, by the way. These picks last week made me laugh, but we'll get to that in a
Oh,
bit.
yeah. I
And
can't
then
wait.
we'll break down the rest of the slate here for Week 13.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to that. I mean, it was pretty dreadful for both of us. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, let's get to our top 3 matchups of the week. Our headline of is this week is the 2 teams that beat up on the 2 LA teams, and that is the Eagles versus the Ravens. The Eagles and the Philadelphia Eagles travel to Baltimore. The Ravens are 3-point favorites, and the over under here is 51.5. I've seen this line
Ooh.
move down to 50, but it just depends on where you see it. I saw it at 51.5 when I did this one. But yeah, it's a big line there. Where do you want to start with this matchup? As Dan and Dago said, a matchup of 4 running backs here.
Yeah. By the way, a very good game. I can't wait to watch this one here. But yeah, Saquon Barkley versus Derrick Henry, Jalen Hurts versus Lamar Jackson. And, I'll start with this here. These are very good teams, but part of me still has something that I want them to show me. There's a little bit of pretender on there for them. And I don't know what it is. I get the Eagles beat down the Rams, but the Rams are not really gonna do much this year. I think I'm already convinced with that. And same
Hmm.
thing with the Ravens. They kind of beat down a lower level Chargers team. They're feisty, they're competitive, but there's different levels to it. And I don't know if the Ravens are on the level of they beat down the Bills. The Bills look a little different though, so maybe I should give them a little more credit. But they lost to the Chiefs. I don't know if they're on that level yet. Uh, but the thing that kind of lingers in my mind, Victor, about these Ravens, like, yeah, okay, they got it done against the Chargers, but the way the Steelers defense broke them down and frustrated Lamar Jackson 2 weeks before that, I kind of have a feeling maybe the Eagles defense, which is, maybe not better. We'll find out. They're very young and they've been doing well, but it's still a very good defense. But then offensively, they're better than Pittsburgh Steelers. So what if you get a good amount of stops here with the Eagles, and then you could lean on Saquon, lean on AJ Brown, lean on Jalen Hurts? That's where
Yeah.
I want to lean on the Eagles, but then part of me again, I'm like, are they for reals? Like, who have they really beat in? I don't know, since Green Bay and Brazil. Like one thing that I really liked about John Harbaugh being aggressive and trying to beat his brother on Monday night, I think he figured out like, oh, if I just lean on our elite trait of the offense here on fourth down, you could control the line. Sorry, the line of scrimmage too, by the way, and the time
Yeah.
position. Keep teams that have good offenses on the sideline. If you just pound the rock with not Derek Jackson, Derek Henry, and then Lamar Jackson. So part of me is like, that offense is legit. I'm not gonna deny that offense. That's a very good offense, but they're very one-sided. And with the Eagles, they just gotta show me a little more. So I think to end my pretender hesitation here, I'm gonna lean on the Ravens elite offense because I trust them more than I do the Eagles here.
Yeah, and I think the big challenge in this game, Gilbert, is the fact that the Eagles offense hasn't they've had the easiest in terms of playing defenses. They've had like their lower tier in terms of the bottom five of teams they face. I mean,
Wow.
and the Ravens are the opposite. They've actually faced some of the best defenses in this season. And so this is going to be a big test for both of them, and as you mentioned, I just feel like the Ravens have been tested all season. They face way better competition, as you said. We know what to expect from this Ravens team, whether you're talking about offense or defense. We know what they like to do. We know that they like to run 12 personnel in terms of their offense. We know defensively they've struggled, but they've made some adjustments. I don't know if you look, I don't know how much you paid attention to that game for the Ravens against the Chargers, but they kept subbing in their cornerbacks. You saw Trey White on the outside, who they
Yeah.
just traded for the Rams. They had Brandon Stevens in the inside. You had Marlon Humphrey inside as well, playing the slot. So they're moving their guys around, and also their best player on defense, which is their best playmaker. They were without Roquan Smith. We'll see if
Yeah.
he's back in this game as well. But their feature guy, number 14 on that defense, they're not blitzing him as much because their safeties have been terrible. Marcus Williams got benched. You've seen other guys kind of step up there on safety, so they've had to move him back, and it's kind of worked out for them. So I'm actually interested to see what happens, with this matchup. And as we said, I think everybody's going to focus in on the two running backs and the two quarterbacks, but there's a lot of things to kind of take place here in terms of what do we want to see from the Eagles? And I guess it still continues to be prove it to us. Yes, you've been able to beat up on a lot of these teams, but you're finally going to face a good team. So we'll see what happens here. I'm with you. I still want to see more from this Eagles team.
Yeah, one more point before we move on, Victor, and it sounds like we're in agreement here, taking the Ravens -3. By the way, are you going over under on or is that one of your best bets? Hopefully,
Yeah,
I'm not.
that's one of my best
Okay,
bet
I won't
is
jump the
actually
gun.
the over under.
Okay. The one thing though about these Ravens, maybe you could tell me because I am a little more, I guess, harsh on the Ravens defense, but they've shown improvement the last 2 weeks. But then again, it's Steelers and Chargers offense. I get Justin Herbert was a good quarterback, but they're not a very good offense. Same thing with the Russell Wilson Steelers offense. Like, if you look at the numbers there, that for the last 2 weeks, Zach Orr hadn't gotten something there with the defense. I just don't know if it's fluky. And then you got to face now Saquon Barkley. So they might go back to being the defense that got picked on by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Do you think there's that real improvement, Victor, or just a quality of offense since the last 2 weeks here?
It's a little bit of both, if I'm being completely honest. Also, you faced a a Bengals offense that it's been kind of hard to, they have weapons everywhere. And so it's kind of hard to scheme. And it's the same thing here with, I think this is why this game is so fascinating to me because we're going to find out a lot about, I think we know more about the Ravens. We still have questions about the Eagles.
Yeah.
But to your question, I feel like they've started to make the adjustments. My biggest criticism with the Ravens has been John Harbaugh. And I think if he takes that same approach that he did with his brother,
Hmm.
then I'm all in on the Ravens. He just needs to make that going forward. Where the thing that still kind of bothers me about the Ravens is the amount of penalties that continued to kind of
Yeah.
pop up. I mean, if you're gonna beat this team like like a team like the Eagles, you cannot have 9 to 10 penalties a game. So that's something to kind of look at too, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, those are good points there because maybe the Ravens deserve a little more credit because your numbers are a little skewed because you played Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase twice, but we have seen them, let up a few big plays. So if they do it again to the Eagles offense, then okay, they're just a bad defense. But it's hard to wrap my mind around a team with so many good players defensively they're not doing that well. But maybe there is something there. And last thing before I move on, Victor. Yeah, I wrote about the John Harbaugh being aggressive to his brother, being aggressive with his brother, because yeah, they are the most paralyzed team in the NFL. They're not very good defensively. Even special teams is kind of a problem, but they're
Yep.
very good at scoring the football in a hurry. And I like that John Harbaugh leaned on that. So we'll see if they do that again against this very good Eagles defense.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll talk about it during my best bets, but I think both of these teams are going to lean on the run, and so we'll see what happens, and then we'll see which defense decides to take either thing away. And I just feel like right now we know we can, as you mentioned, we can trust the Ravens offense. We don't know yet if we can trust the Eagles offense because we haven't seen them be tested against a really good defense. And I'm not saying the Ravens have a really good defense, but it looks like they've started to make the adjustments, and they have, especially if Roquan Smith plays in this game, they have the players to be able to compete with the Eagles offense.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. What's next game we got here?
We got the
Ooh,
Thursday. I was gonna say Thursday night. It
yeah.
is a Thursday night game, but on Thanksgiving it's the late game. Dolphins at Packers. It is expected to be a high of 19 degrees in
Ooh.
Green Bay. We know what the numbers are when Miami or even Tua have to play in these kind of games. So I'll let you start and
Yep.
see where do you want to start with these
Yeah.
with this matchup.
That is a perfect start there. These Miami Dolphins going back to the cold, and their scheme that never works in the cold, doesn't work in December, doesn't work in January, it doesn't work against physical teams. But I think I'm willing to get burned here because of what the changes that I've seen in Miami the
Yep.
last maybe 5-6 weeks, and I'm gonna take the Dolphins, Victor, to actually win. I think I picked them to win outright. I'm not confident about that, but I'm definitely more confident about taking the plus 3.5 points here. And I want to say the Dolphins are on a 4-game streak of covering the spread. They held on tough against the Bills. They lost that one. That was the last time they lost. They covered. And they covered high spreads against bad teams, the Raiders and the Dolphins. And I keep getting burned because I can't believe them. Believe in them. I got burned with those from my top 5 bets the last 2 weeks. And then they beat as a dog. They beat the Rams as an outright dog on the road. So those are 4 impressive weeks here. And I think the first game back for Tua was that Cardinals game that they lost. They didn't cover in that game. They were the favorites at home, but that was the first game back for Tua Tagovailoa. And I get it. Tyreek Hill not getting his bombs are a problem, especially in fantasy football. We're talking about fantasy football here a lot, but the way they've adjusted without relying on that and winning games without having Tyreek down the field, and even last week, where they finally played kind of a bad defense. All right, Tyreek, you're getting double coverage. You're getting Christian Gonzalez. Jalen Waddle, here you go. Make some plays. And if you look at all the numbers of Jalen Waddle's 144 receiving yards, I think he had maybe one catch for 29 yards. It wasn't 40, 50. They're not relying on the deep ball. And that to me, I'm going to take a chance on it. I like the way they run the football. I like the way they got John Smith involved. I like the way Mike McDaniel is altering the scheme to be more making more plays closer to the line of scrimmage. And maybe this could finally be the blueprint to winning games when it gets cold. And the Packers, part of me, like we're talking about the Ravens and the Eagles, they're a little fraudy. They're a good team, but Jordan Love is a little up and down. They were a block field goal away from losing to the Bears. They lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Lions. They lost to the Vikings. I get they beat the 49ers, but that was Brandon Allen. So I'm gonna take a chance here on the Dolphins to show me something. But if the Packers beat them down, I'm gonna tell myself I should have known that was a fluke. But we'll find out.
Yeah, I think this game is where we kind of disagree in terms of, I mean, the numbers are there and I get it. Like eventually they have to break through, right? Like it's a regular season game. This is a good matchup for the Dolphins if they have, aspirations of, getting into the playoffs and having to face some of these cold weather teams in the playoffs. And so I understand, from that perspective. But at the same time, Gilbert, they're terrible running the ball. Um, they're still not running the ball well. And then you look at the other side too with the Dolphins. They're still getting gash on the run, and the Packers love to run the ball, especially with Josh Jacobs. We just saw them commit to the run, and just say, you know what, you can't stop us, and we're gonna run it with Josh Jacobs. And the 49ers had no answers, and that's part of the thing too. And I'll say one more thing in terms of why I like the Packers in this game as well is the fact that they face already this season, they face Shanahan type, McVay type of offense. They face McVay, they face Shanahan, and they've been able to stop it, and they beat both of those teams.
Yeah.
And now you have Mike McDonald coming to town. Guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna try to run the ball, and they're gonna stop the run. So and I get it. I do like the point that you made in terms of, hey, get the ball out quickly, and I think that might work. And the one thing I have a problem with, and as you said, was with the Packers, is I still don't trust this defense, because we don't know, they haven't really been tested in terms of, yeah, they faced the Eagles early in the season, but you know there's still some issues. They're still a young team. They still give up some plays here and there, but Saber McKinney has been a godsend, a great free agent signing, as I said they would. But I'm still there. It's just hard, like, for me to go away from what we've seen from the Dolphins when they had to travel to the cold.
Yeah, the Packers feel like a very good wild card team. I don't know if I don't think I've called them a Super Bowl contender all year. But they're very talented, and it could be as simple as that. Like, okay, the Dolphins are a fringe playoff team, and the Packers are a legit playoff team. So maybe it would be too much to overcome here. And you're right. The thing I give the Dolphins credit about running the football, they are at least trying. And with other years, they kind of like, hey, Achan, go long, or hey, Mostert, here's a goal line touchdown to kind of pad the stats there. So they've been trying, and there's some games where I've seen that they get it, and I think it's enough to help out kind of this sideline offensive scheme that's new now. But yeah, you better run the damn football very well to keep Jordan Love on the sideline. That way, you're not getting punished by Josh Jacobs. So I'm not gonna fight you on the outcome here, but I think
Yeah.
I do feel comfortable with the plus 3.5 But I know it's
And
been different. There's some minus threes around there too.
yeah, and this is why, it's a hard game to pick here. That's why it's a -3. And I was gonna say, I heard somebody, I was listening just to kind of get ready for this show, and I think somebody was saying that they're 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 like they're like they're top five in terms of their plays since Tua has been back. So since Tua has been back from the concussion, they're top five on first down. They're top five in second down, and they're number one on third down conversions since he's been back. So what they've been able to do is a thing that they used to not be able to do well, and I'm talking about the Dolphins, was they used to look for explosive plays a lot, and they relied too much on that. Now they're beating you like pretty much by that whole paper cut expression, where they're just little by little, and they're getting to the end zone, and they're doing long drives, and that's how they've been able. And then the on defense, because they're ahead, a lot of the teams are having to turn the ball over, and that's how they've been able to win games. But this is a big test, as we said. So I
Yeah.
don't hate where you're going here with it, but I just think the Packers are the better team in this game, and they're at home.
Yeah, before I move on, I gotta say, like, you want to see a very good Tua game. You want to see where, like, okay, you're running the scheme very well. Are you just relying on Mike McDaniel, or just relying on Tyreek and Waddle? Like, can you go out and earn your money and do it in Green Bay? Like, I want to see that because he's now clicking, but he might get to the point where, like, Tua might be Derek Carr, and that's all he's gonna be, and he's gonna do well when the pressure's not on. But he could maybe prove us wrong. So I can't wait to see if he answers a call there. And everybody want him to retire. Go shut people up and play a game on prime time. Everybody watching and full off turkey and have a dominant game. Let's see what Tua does.
Yeah, I honestly, this is one of those intriguing games, and that's why it's one of our top three matchups of the week. Just because when we first looked at, the Turkey Day slate of games, we were like, oh my god, this is gonna be terrible. But now I'm like actually really intrigued because I kind of want
Yeah,
to see what happens here. I think we're gonna get a lot of our answers here, and hopefully it's not a blowout, with the Packers or the Dolphins.
yeah,
I think I think if the Dolphins do blow out the Packers, I think we'll have more of an answer with the Dolphins. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
even I could make a case for the whole Thanksgiving slate. Like, I kind of want to see if the Lions could cover the -10 on
Oh
the
yeah, we'll
Bears.
we'll get into it.
Yeah,
Trust me, it got a lot better. We'll
yeah.
get to it.
And
Yeah.
then even that crappy game could
Yep.
maybe be chaotic. But yeah, let's get to the next game.
All right, and our third top game is the Steelers and the Bengals. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point favorites, which I was kind of surprised by, and the over under here is 47 as well. Where do you want to start with this? Because
Yeah.
I think this is the last shot for the Bengals. If they
Oh
don't
yeah.
win, they're toast.
Yes. I am going to just follow the same model I had a couple weeks ago where I chose the Steelers and I banked on their defense to shut down Lamar Jackson. And I know football is not that simple. And I get the Ravens beat the Bengals twice and the Steelers beat the Ravens. And maybe simple math is okay, pick the Steelers. But the Steelers lost to the Browns and the Bengals beat the Browns. So who the hell knows in the AFC North? It's a divisional rival. So it can't be that simple. But something does worry me about my pick on the Steelers because they're just a better team. Sometimes I'm just gonna lean on the record, but being desperate and going down 4-8 and coming off a bye week and being at home, you're gonna get the best from the Bengals. Just like the Chargers got the best of the Bengals because you could tell that team really wanted to win that game and come back because they know that their season is on the line. And when they lost, man, they looked so deflated. But I think they have maybe still a chance in that wild card. I know they need the Broncos to fall apart. They need the Chargers to fall apart to maybe catch. Maybe it's a little too late. Even the Dolphins are starting. They already surpassed them in the rankings or the standings, so it might be a little too late. But I'm gonna say the Bengals have one more last, kind of energy or shot to try to, make it a season. So the Steelers are going to get the Bengals best. That really worries me. But I think I'm going to trust Mike Tomlin to get this team back on track after getting smacked in the mouth by Cleveland in a snow game on a short week. They kind of caught him off guard there, and they were probably, thinking like, "Oh yeah, we just beat the Ravens, and yeah, we're gonna be fine." Nope, you got a wake up call there, and Jameis Winston and Jerry Judy and Nick Chubb beat you down there. So they need Russell Wilson to do a little more here. So if you're gonna go toe to toe with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, you better not go off of Chris Boswell 5 field goals. And I'm gonna look so silly with this pick here, but I'm gonna bank on the defense to get enough stops here. And I'm going to bank on Russell Wilson and George Pickens and Najee Harris to get enough touchdowns on that bad Bengals defense. That Bengals defense is old. They can't get it together. They haven't really shown me anything much all year. Like I trust the Ravens defense more than I do the Bengals. But it's just when you have to deal with Jamar Chase, man, that's a whole nother beast there. So I don't feel good about it, but I'm just going to follow what I did a couple weeks ago, and I trusted the defense of the Steelers, and now and I'll take the plus money too, +3. But I think I picked the Steelers outright to get the upset because you know me, I got to have a couple upsets every week.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I honestly don't blame you for going this way. And I told you, I just can't get behind the Steelers. I'm not a believer. I understand that they have a really good defense, and yeah, that's great. As you get to the playoffs, it'll get you to the playoffs. But the problem is that sometimes in games like this where you have a Joe Burrow, you have a T. Higgins, you have a Chase Brown, you have a Jamar Chase, and one of the Achilles heels of this defense, as we've seen, is that secondary. You can attack it if you're able to attack it. then you can win, you can beat this team. And but you mentioned, I think where you kind of get into trouble if you're the Bengals is your defense able to stop the Steelers? As we saw, Russell Wilson hasn't been great, honestly, the last 2 weeks. He's kind of focused on George Pickens,
Hmm.
and that's been his main guy that he goes after. They went and traded for Mike Williams. He's only gotten 2 targets since he's got traded, and one of them went for a touchdown. And so it's just it's a hard game to pick just because of that. And both teams are well rested. The Bengals are coming off a bye, and then as you mentioned, the Steelers have a little mini bye after their loss on Thursday Night Football to the Browns. The only reason I'm picking the Bengals is because they're at home. Honestly, that's and had the Steelers been at home, I would have picked them because they've been great at home. I think this game is going to come down to the kickers, and I don't feel great about Evan McPherson. If I'm completely, being honest, but I'm just going with the home team just because I honestly don't think either of these teams is good enough to, win a playoff game. But one of these teams is going to make the playoffs, and it's probably going to be the Steelers. But right now, when it comes to, um, this division, it seems like the home teams have been winning the home games
Yeah.
outside of the Ravens, barely beating the Bengals, and that's because the Bengals gave that game away.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think for me, and this would be my last point. It's like I don't want to be caught up in what happened last week, and I'm just gonna go off of the full sample size. So, and we were talking about betting, like money wise, like the Bengals have not really come through like at
No,
all. Like
you're right.
they did it. People thought they're gonna be the favorite in LA against the Chargers, and they lost that game, and you benefited from that. The Chargers covered. They blew those leads to the Ravens twice. They lost to the Patriots not too long ago. So, week one, that was a long time ago. But
Yep.
it's just this team just seems to just keep being disappointing, and maybe that's just who they are. They're gonna be flashy, high scoring, but always disappointing. And I don't want to be part of that. So that's why. But I don't feel good about it. The Steelers are have their flaws too, but we'll see what happens in this one.
Yeah, it looks like we're different on two of these games, but we agree on the Ravens versus the Eagles. All right, Gilbert, let's go over let's get to our betting locks of the week. Um, so last week was pretty bad for both of us.
Hmm.
You got 1 out of 4. I got 1 out of 4, but you hit on your 5 point.
Got
I
lucky
hit
there.
on my 4, so that's why you're up on the season now. You're up 92 points to 91 after week 12. Why don't you let the people know how we go about doing our betting locks of the week?
Yeah, our top 5 best bets of the week, but the one that we give you the first on our list is the one we have the most confidence in. That's 5 points, and then the second one 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, and then we tally the score there and give you updates every week. And then at the end, we'll have a winner. Whoever has the most. I had a big lead to start out the season, but Victor caught me. We were tied last week still, and then I finally got that 1 point advantage because the Bears gave me a backdoor cover, and they somehow got that game to overtime. And yeah, so because I think I have it was plus 3.5. The Vikings won by 3, so I got that, but the rest I lost. And Victor is the one that you got right was a 4 pointer. That's why we have a 1 point
Yeah.
difference here.
Yeah, and it was that I think it was the over on the Miami Patriots game.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, that was our lone wins of the week. All right, Gilbert, give us your week 13 best bets. Let's start off with your number 5.
Yeah, the freaking Colts, man. I gotta love hate with them. Sometimes they come through, and then sometimes I'm like, what the hell happened? So they did not come through for me last week when they faced the Lions, and man, the Lions have been on a tear. I've been talking to the odds makers in Las Vegas, and Jake Cornegie, who just recently retired as a the head operations at the Westgate Superbook. He told me they're having a hard time how to put the odds in Lions games because obviously if you go too high, you have the sharp playing the other side. But the Lions just seem to cover everything. They're 9-2 against the spread here. They've been on a roll. I think maybe since week 2 they've probably had one game where they didn't cover. That was that Texans game. I got that
This
one right.
goes back to Gilbert. I think this goes back to that. Uh, I
Buccaneers
want to
and
say no. It was no. This goes back a couple years now.
oh
I saw it. I saw this stat where and I wanna remember there was that famous speech by Dan Campbell where I think they were 1-6, not last season, but the
Yeah,
season
yeah, second
before.
season, yeah,
Right, at the yeah, and then they just been on a run, and they've been covering. I think they've the since that game, I think they've only not covered 4 games.
that's
they've been
wild.
on a roll in terms of against the spread.
Yeah, so that's a money making team there, and I learned my lesson there. Uh, but we'll talk about it when that game comes up a little more. So
Yep.
the Colts, maybe that could be an outlier where the Colts face the Avalanche called the Detroit Lions. So the Patriots have been pretty bad. I know the Patriots sometimes show a little fight here, but you're seeing now stories come out about people questioning Gerard Mayo and people fighting and things like that. I'm like, I don't like that right now. So a little bit toxic. The Colts don't have as much drama, so I take them -2.5 here. It's my best bet. I don't know, but I didn't feel good about any of the games this week, but you never know.
No, I actually, like I told you, I really like what they've done with Anthony Richardson since he's been back. Those 2 games, I thought he played really well against the Lions. It's just they were, one of the things too with, and I'll get to it when because this is the Lions are in my best bets, but on the other side, um, they've just been blitzing, what out of teams since Aiden Hutchinson got injured.
Yeah,
And
they've been good.
so, yeah, but Anthony Richardson's been pretty good. I really like what they're doing with him. And so, yeah, I really like this bet. If I'm being completely honest, the Colts, I just think that they're the better team. And if you want to, as I said, if Anthony Richardson continues to be the quarterback moving forward, like the rest of the season, I like the chances of the Colts, especially with what's going on with the Texans. Don't 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 think that the Colts can, sneak in. We've seen it the last 2 seasons with the 2 teams that won the AFC South.
Yeah,
These teams end up getting caught at the end. We saw it with the Jaguars, and then last season, and I forget who the other team was 2 years ago that got caught at the end too, where the Jaguars were the one that won the division. So
yeah,
yeah,
and then
it's
last year
I think it was
Texans
the
Colts in
Titans,
week
right?
18.
2 years ago?
Yeah, I
The
think it was the
Titans,
Titans.
yeah, so there you go.
But yeah, and even last year, the Colts and the Texans had to come down to week 18, and it came down to the last play of
Yep.
the regular season. So you never know here. But for my number 4, I have the Browns plus 5.5 against the Broncos. The Broncos at home, and you know I like Bo Nix. I think he's doing well. I know people have been a little harsh on him. I think he's doing a good job of finally playing with more composure, and he's learned a very tough scheme, but he has limitations there. He hasn't had that stride that Jaden did. I knew he's had earlier in the year, but he's a solid quarterback. I just don't know. He might be like the next Derek Carr or Tua. He might just fit well in the scheme. We'll find out. That's for a conversation for another day. But I'm not gonna. This is not a pick here to say okay he sucks or whatever. But I think the Browns, uh, you know, the way Miles Garrett spoke in that post game show about how competitive they are and
Oh
how much
yeah.
they want to fight for Nick Chubb and Kevin Stefanski and Jameis Winston having all these speeches tells them they're competitive. That they'll keep it close. And I don't think the Broncos are very, you know, a good wild card team. They're probably going to get in because they're handling business, but it's just they're not a scary team. That as a playoff team, like yeah, maybe they're on that level of the Chargers, but they're not the Ravens, they're not the Packers, they're not the Vikings. They're probably the Commanders. So there's like 3 teams where like, they'll get in, but they won't really do much, and that's the Broncos here. So I'll take the Browns plus 5.5 because they have a game breaker in Miles Garrett. Yeah, I think Nick Chubb is starting to get rolling at least as a goal line running back, and Jameis Winston has done a nice job. More reason to keep benching Deshaun Watson. I know he's been hurt, but bench him next year. But Jameis Winston did a good job of getting Jerry Jeudy involved in the offense. Like if you look at his numbers the last month, Jerry
Oh yeah.
Jeudy is playing well. By the way, revenge game against the Broncos.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so for a while, I thought Jerry Jeudy is just not a good player. He's overrated. And then, you got Jameis Winston playing the Kevin Stefanski offense. Suddenly, you're a good player. Cedric Tillman's doing a good job. I like the way they've been running their kind of 2 tight end schemes there. There's a couple of players. I'm like, is that Njoku? That's not Njoku. And they were making a lot of plays last week against the Steelers. So I'll take the Browns here. without Deshaun Watson plus 5.5.
No, I like this one, and like I said, I don't hate on Bo Nix. I hate more on the media overhyping him.
Hmm.
Like, he's a good quarterback. He To me, he's the right-handed Tua, and that's not a bad
Yeah,
thing. Like,
yeah,
he's running the offense the way Sean Payton wants to run it, which is great. But don't sit there and tell me that he's got a great arm and he's making these great throws when I'm looking at it and he's just making the right throws to the right, to the right look, and that's okay. And that defense, honestly, I just don't understand why Vance Joseph isn't getting more credit for what he's doing. Honestly, the reason the Broncos have the record that they have is because of Vance Joseph and what he's done with that defense. But you can attack this defense, as we've seen, with some of the other teams. I don't get why everybody just wants to overpraise Sean Payton. Sean Payton he's done a wonderful job, but nobody is giving Vance Joseph the credit here. One
yeah.
more thing, Gilbert, too, why I like this bet too is I wonder if Zach Allen is going to play in this game because he's been great for the Broncos. He missed the Raiders game, and if he misses again in this game, yeah, I'm with you. I think Nick Chubb might have a big game in this game.
All right. What's the next one we got here?
We got the
Oh,
Dolphins.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be quick here. I already made my points here, but I'm gonna take the Dolphins plus 3.5 here. I like what they've been doing in the past month, and I'm willing to take a chance on them this week.
Yeah, you make some really good points, and this is one we disagreed on, and it's also one that we both disagreed on the best bet as well. All right, your number two, Cardinals plus 3.5
Yeah,
against the Vikings.
I'm going back to my Cardinals. It was not a good week for I guess, my team, the Heelberto's team of 2024. The Cardinals are somewhere up top there. It's one of my sleeper teams that I really liked, and uh, I don't know. The Vikings have just been keeping it a little close. Again, I'm not knocking the Vikings. We all know my history of doubting the Vikings. I've come around. I recently wrote about how they need more respect. Dan and Dago did not like that because I changed my tune. I could definitely change my tune, Dan, if you're watching this. But I'm just gonna take the points here because you get that +5 on the three. It was a -3. I probably would have taken the Vikings here, and you know, and also the Cardinals laying an egg last week and they got shut down by the Seahawks defense. Like, I think they're going to make adjustments there with Kyler Murray. They got to run the damn football. If they don't have James Conner involved, they're not a good offense. They need to
Yeah.
be balanced there. They need also Kyler Murray to run around a little bit. They did not have that at all last week, and that was pretty bad. And then that is a credit to Mike McDonald in Seattle. But the thing here that I it could be good or bad. Brian Flores is going to put a lot of pressure on Kyler Murray, and I'm still not sold on Kyler Murray being a star quarterback. Like, we kind of just stop talking about it. We stop debating about it for some reason. His name doesn't come up like, well, he's really good or not. I think we just kind of just starting to figure out he's a good player, but he's not. I don't know. Like, he got his contract so early too. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And it's also Arizona. People don't talk about Arizona that much, but he has to show me a little more here. So make Brian Flores pay for bringing the blitz. And again, it's a very good defense. They're one of the top teams in takeaways, but they're not a good team against the pass because they're so aggressive. So it kind of this is one of these teams you don't look at the numbers. And yeah, the secondary is not very good in terms of numbers, but they're playmakers, they're aggressive, they're ball hawks. So Kyler Murray could definitely get some yards here to at least keep it interesting. Marvin Harrison Jr., can you freaking be consistent? You're the number 4 pick in the
Yeah.
draft. Give me a little more here. And it can't just be Trey McBride for 5 yards, and then he has 15 targets at the end of the game here. So I'm going to take a chance here. I think Jonathan Gannon's defense could recover a little bit, and even then, last week they only gave Seattle 16 points. So it's a very good defense that's being coached very well. So I'm going to take a chance here on the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be with you, but they're facing the same kind of a defense in terms of what you're going to see in terms of a scheme with Brian Flores and Mike McDonald. Like, Mike McDonald made some really good adjustments now, which is crazy because, like, you reminded me of this, but like the whole trading for Ernest Jones is kind of like what we saw with him in Baltimore and Raekwon Smith. I'm not saying he's the same type of
Yeah.
linebacker, but he finally got a linebacker that can do the things he wants him to do. And I just wonder if we're going to see that here with the Vikings with Brian Flores. I know they don't run the same scheme, but they run that same kind of, simulation, kind of, pressured simulation. So, but you're right. They're going to have to run the ball. That was one thing that the Seattle Seahawks took away from the Cardinals was their ability to run the ball. So this is an interesting game. I thought about putting this one as a top 3 game, but I just thought the other ones were more intriguing. But this is one to kind of keep an eye on. But that I'm with you in terms of the +3.5. Take it. I just don't think the Vikings win this game. But
Yeah,
yeah, like I
I
think
think I
it's going
chose
to be a close.
I chose the
Yeah,
Vikings to win this one, but I'm gonna take the
yeah,
points here.
exactly. I'm
And this
with you.
all right, what and I think the next one, I don't know
Yeah.
if you were thinking about taking this one, Vic. You just didn't
I
want
thought
to.
about it, but I'm done. I'm done. Like I'm done with the Raiders and trying
Okay.
to have them cover anymore.
Well, I'm agreeing with you on the Chiefs not being a team that covers,
They
and
haven't covered, I think, all season, Gilbert.
I honestly, I was
Yeah.
gonna stay away, and I saw this one at -12 yesterday. I'm like, "Ooh, I want to, but not." And then it went to 13. I'm like, "Cool, I'll take the
Yes.
point. I'm sold with it." This game's on Black Friday. Amazon, by the way, Amazon Prime really trying to cash in on the marketing on the having the Black Friday game. So,
Yeah.
credit to the people there. You got a bunch of commercials about what to buy on Black Friday from Amazon
Yeah.
Prime. So, uh, yeah. So also too, like Antonio Pierce's comments about the bad team against the good team, like I could go 2 ways. Like, hey man, like you just called us crappy, coach. Why are you doing that? Let's kind of not fight for you. Or it could like, hey, you know what? This is a wake up call. We got to be better. We got to change the narrative. So I'm gonna trust that Antonio Pierce is doing the right thing here, which he doesn't do a lot of right things. So, or it could be
Yeah.
a coach just said, I don't care anymore. I'm on the way out.
Right.
But 13 is very high. The Panthers almost took the Chiefs to overtime. The Chiefs couldn't cover against the Broncos. The Chiefs couldn't cover actually with the Raiders in Las Vegas not too long ago. So this team just doesn't cover as a heavy favorite. So
And they haven't covered against the Raiders since Pierce took over. I mean, that's the other thing. Pierce, like that. This is the problem with this team too with the Raiders is that they're their whole it sounds like their whole purpose is just to beat the Chiefs or come close,
yeah,
which you should be wanting to beat all the other teams. And so, yeah, the motivation is there, like I said, and I honestly would I thought about it, but I'm just done like pretending. I think this is going to be a good close game just because of the Chiefs are going to keep the Raiders in this game. And I'm actually going to tune into this. I wasn't going to, but now that Eddie Nakano is the quarterback in
yeah,
this game, we saw what he didn't do against the
yeah.
Chiefs last season. So I kind of, and even Minshew was really he got the ball out. That's the other thing, Gilbert, and we haven't talked about this with the Chiefs, but ever since that injury to Watson, they've been terrible. Like this secondary, and then with McDuffie now, he's the only guy you can go and go after all the other guys. And so, yeah, the safeties aren't that good. Reed's been getting beat on that secondary.
They're also not good at defending the tight ends, and Brock Bowers is pretty good.
That and then they're terrible in terms of creating pressure if it's not Chris Jones. Carlock, where the heck is Carlock this? Like they just
Yeah,
don't have any pressure if they rely out too much on trying to blitz you. So yeah, I like this bet here. Like we're both gonna I'll get to mine later on, but I like the fact that for our number one we do a big spread, and so that's kind of cool, and we'll see which one of the two hits. But yeah, those are some good picks. I know you say
mhm,
you're not excited about it, but I think though I thought you had some good ones there. All right,
yeah.
Gilbert, let me give you mine. I'll be quick with mine. My first one here is I'm all in on the Bills here. We still don't know what, I have Bills -7 versus the 49ers. I doubt Brock Purdy's going to play in this game. It sounds like he tried to throw on Monday, it sounds like. And then today he did not throw out a single pass in practice. And
Woo.
so I just think the Bills are all in. They're coming off a bye, and it just sounds like the 49ers. I would not be surprised if this is a blog, Gilbert, especially it's on it's
Sunday
they're
Night
gonna be
Football.
playing Sunday night football in Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, we already saw what the Packers did to the 49ers. I can just see the Bills doing the same thing here.
Yeah, if they lose and they get blown out, I don't want to talk about the 49ers anymore. They do not belong in a primetime game.
Yeah, so I'm with you. My number 4 here is one that we talked about, so I'm not gonna talk too much. I just think the Packers at home. Like I said, Josh Jacobs is going to have a field day here with this Dolphins defense. So give me the Packers minus 3.5 here. I just think, I just don't see the Dolphins going up there and doing anything, to be honest. But maybe I find out if the Dolphins do beat them and they cover here, then I'll shut my mouth and I'll say, hey, they finally have made that, kind of like what we were doing with the Eagles. I want them to show it to me, and maybe they show it this week, and they finally get over that minus, like, or cold weather games. My number three is the Ravens Eagles under 51
Mm,
and a half. Uh,
I
like
like
I
it.
said, I think this is the one where they're going to run the ball. Both of these teams are going to they're going to try to, just because they want to control the clock with Saquon and with Derrick Henry and those two quarterbacks. I just don't see this number. Everybody is expecting a shootout. I just don't see that. I see it more of it's just going to be long drives, and this game is going to be somewhere in the 20s, like 24 to 20, something like that, where they hit the under on this one. Going back to the well here with my number two, Gilbert, going
They
with the
failed you
Chargers.
last week.
Yes, and I kind of wanted to talk about this game in terms of I I'm kind of surprised this line isn't bigger for the Chargers,
Really?
and part of it, yes,
Mm,
and I'll tell you why. A lot of people are looking at this game as like, okay, so the Falcons can present something that we've seen other teams give the Chargers problems, right? And that is, if you run the ball on this team, on the Chargers defense, you can do something here. You have Kirk Cousins, where you can go after some of those cornerbacks like Christian Fulton. Um, but the thing is, Gilbert, we've talked about it. The Falcons defense is just terrible. And I can see Justin Herbert just being able to light up this defense and be able to run the ball. I get it. J.K. Dobbins is not going to be in this game, so there's going to be a lot of Gus Edwards. But and I get it. They're also having to go across the country to play in Atlanta on an early game. But I just think, like, this, if it was Brandon Staley coaching this team, I would have said, "No, give me the Falcons in this game." But I just trust Jim Harbaugh, having this team prepare, and same thing with their defensive coordinator with for the Chargers and Jesse Minter. So yeah,
yeah.
give me the Chargers minus one.
I think the line was Chargers minus 2.5, and I think it went down because of the J.K. Dobbins injury, and that really concerns me because he's a big part of their offense. And this is going to be a big Justin Herbert game. I know Chargers fans are a little sensitive when it comes to like the is Justin Herbert the real deal kind of conversation, but I'm like, he wasn't that good on Monday night. Joe Burrow lit up this Baltimore defense two times. I get Herbert was great the week before that against the Bengals, but he wasn't good in the second half. So this is one of these games where, like, I hope the coaching staff is like, okay, we got no J.K. Dobbins. Let our quarterback who's making $55 million per year go out and earn it. So I think it's gonna be a big week for Justin Herbert here.
Yeah,
And I just don't feel good about the Chargers going on the road without J.K. Dobbins. So I took the Falcons here. Uh,
yeah.
but
But
yeah,
I also just I saw that, like, I picked the Falcons a couple of weeks ago against the Broncos,
yeah,
and the Broncos just
yeah. It's not
destroyed them.
easy. Yeah,
Yes, it's just hard for me to,
yeah,
and so I kept looking at this, and I get it. Like, trust me, I have a lot of question about the Chargers too. Like, their offensive coordinator just doesn't make adjustments in the second half, and then unless they have a if they have a big lead, they always end up, giving it up, especially a good against a good offensive team. But I guess the reason I'm going with the Chargers here, is because of I just believe more in Jim Harbaugh
yeah.
and Raheem Morris. I
Good point.
just it's starting to kind of fall apart for Raheem Morris. So we'll see. And then my number one here, Gilbert,
Hey,
I
okay.
gave you I gave you the stats, the Lions, but the other stat I saw, Gilbert, they haven't been able to win on Thanksgiving. Last year they got beat up by the
Packers.
Packers.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm just like, why not throw one and see what happens here? The Bears have been playing much better. It's a divisional
yeah. They
game.
keep losing, but
It,
they're covering.
yeah, and they're covering that. That defense should play better. If anybody knows, we saw last season with Justin Fields as well. They gave him a good game, and then remember the Lions came back late and won, but the Bears covered. So I just think that this is going to be a close game. That's why these the Turkey Day games I think are going to be way better than people think. And we'll see, but I just think this is going to be a close game. The Lions are still going to win, but I just think that this is going to be a tighter game. And so I'm like, why not? Hey, it's a
Yeah.
1 point. I'm not confident in it because I just gave you all the other stats, but like I said, I've also saw that the Lions haven't been able to win on Thanksgiving under Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I thought about that one too. I'm like, ooh, like at one point it was 10. So I think a lot of sharp money was coming in on the Bears to bring it down a little bit. But it's just like again, like people like the odds makers can't figure out what's a good line for the Lion. Is it minus 14 every week? And because you just keep covering regardless of the spread here. So I'm not messing with that, but sometimes you do, Victor, and it wasn't that long ago where they didn't cover against the Houston Texans, and the Texans are not that good.
Yep.
So maybe that took 5 interceptions, by the way, from Jared Goff. I don't know if we see that ever again, but it's a good bet. I just wasn't willing to go there after I got burned by them last week on the Colts bet.
Yeah, I like I said, we'll see tomorrow, but I like I said, I just for 1 point here, let me take a chance
Yeah,
here. And like I said, I just think the Bears have been playing better. They haven't been able to win. They've been covering at least. So they got you that number 5 last week, that
yeah,
5 pointer
they
last week.
came
So
through.
yeah.
Final
Uh
effort there at the end.
all right, Gilbert, let's get to our quick dump offs here where we pick the rest of the NFL games. Uh New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow morning. The Cowboys are 3.5 point favorites. The over under here is 37.5. And as I mentioned, Gilbert, I think this is also it because of now that the Cowboys are starting to get healthy on defense, this
Yeah.
team's starting to look a little bit more, or this game is you got Drew Lock starting for the Giants now. So yeah, this could be a sneaky good game. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the best game out of the three, and I also can see it the other way where it's the worst of the three.
This is a very difficult one for me to pick. I do know that there was some sharp money on the Giants when it was +4, and they brought it down to -3.5. So teams are probably thinking, okay, this game is a little closer than the line is suggesting. But the Giants are just a dumpster fire. But I'm still gonna take them to cover. I'm gonna take the Cowboys to win, and I don't know. I just feel like there's two bad teams that might keep it close, that might keep it fun, entertaining, and we might see what we saw with Commanders and the Cowboys last week. So I don't feel good about it. The rookie receiver is calling the team soft. The veteran players are saying there's not effort there. Brian Davis on the hot seat. Joe Shane is reminded every week about Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
John Mara's being asked about are they going to stick around. So it's a dumpster fire, but sometimes that could lead to one more good effort here for Brian Davis. So I'm going to take the +3.5 for the Giants, but I'm taking the Cowboys to win.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I think that the other thing too, Gilbert, is hard for me to pick the Cowboys here
Yeah,
just because they keep getting blown out at home. And
that too. They're at home. Yeah, good point.
yeah, so but I like the fact that they're going if this was Tommy DeVito, I would have picked
Oh yeah,
the Cowboys to cover, no doubt about it. But the fact that it's Drew Lock, and I'm not saying he's much better, but he is like a little bit better than him. Yeah, give me the Giants here to cover, but I think the Cowboys somehow, some way pull it out just because now that that defense is actually healthy, I think they're gonna give the Giants they're the reason. And I just feel like the Giants are in a true tank. Like they're tanking
oh
to
yeah.
get a good pick. The Cowboys and McCarthy, they're trying to save their jobs. So and I'm not saying that Dable isn't, but you could tell that they're in a full tank, the Giants are.
Yeah, they might be going for Shadur Sanders. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, Gilbert. Next one is the Tennessee Titans at the Washington
Ugh.
Commander. The Commanders are -5.5, and the over under here is 44.5.
Yesterday, or sorry, last week was a reminder that I can't just go with my narratives of the bad teams not covering. Like the bad teams are going to put some effort every now and then. I
Yeah.
don't like to. I rarely touch the Titans. I rarely touch the Jaguars. Who are some other bad teams? I can forgetting, but like a bad team that I sometimes have faith in is the Patriots. Like I do that, but for some reason I can't get on board with the Tennessee Titans. But then they go and beat the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. So you know, I think the Commanders are going to win this game. I just don't know if they're out of it yet. Where they're okay, they're going to flex their muscles and beat up on the bad team again. They won't have their two best running backs most likely. Austin Eckler concussion, and then Brian Robinson Jr. has an ankle injury. So you're going to be very one sided. Tennessee knows how to bring pressure. By the way, that's their defense is
Yeah.
not bad. I hate doing this, but I'm gonna take the Titans to cover. I'm gonna take the Commanders to win the game because if they don't win the damn game, this freaking curse, man, Dan Dingo's not gonna let me live it down. So let's go with the
Yeah.
Commanders to win, but Tennessee Titans to cover. But yeah,
Yeah. So when I looked at this matchup, I realized that these are the two teams you picked them. We both picked to go from last to
yeah.
first, right? And I'm not picking the Titans because of that. I think I take the money line here with the Titans, and
Oh
um, as I said, and I'll give you a little bit of analysis in terms of why I like the Titans. You know, as long as Will Levis doesn't give us his whole like his whole like I guess you can call it the full Levis, where he just throws a bunch of interceptions,
yeah.
a bunch of pick sixes,
Takes
then
bad
and he's
sacks too.
right takes which he got sacked what 8 times, which
Yeah, 7 times
and
in the
they
first half last week.
yeah, and they still won that game. Um, yeah, so that's the thing, but I just haven't seen anything that I liked about the Commanders, Gilbert, ever since what was it coming off the bye? Have they even been on a bye? See, that's
No,
the other thing.
bye week is after this
They're a
week.
tired team. They really need a bye week. And I just feel like the times are getting them at the right time, as you said. They got two injured running backs. I mean, and they're taking away McLaurin now. Like, and the problem is with and I talked about it with their offensive coordinator is that he gets exposed in the second half and now they're not even moving around Terry McLaurin. It's just like I believe in Jaden Daniels, and there's only so much he can do. That offensive line isn't good, and then that defense is starting to get exposed. The Titans, for their to their credit, they have players. They have like if we did a draft of both of these teams, I can guarantee you, Gilbert, that we would the 10 at least 5 to 6 players on the Titans are better than the Commanders. The two players that we would probably talk about would be on the Commanders would be Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and then everybody else would go to the Titans. It's just like that's the thing too. But can they put it together here for the Titans? So I just think that the Commanders are just going down a spiral, and I think they just need to get to a bye week and I like the Titans here. Like I said, I take the money line in this game.
Yeah, not bad. That team has not really shown much in the last few weeks. I'm hoping
Yeah,
that late surge against Dallas before freaking Seibert missed a field goal
yeah.
gives it, or the extra point gives them some momentum. But it's even that's hard to kind of muster.
All right, here let's pick it up here. The Texans are 4 point favorites at Jacksonville Jaguars, and
Oof.
there it sounds like Trevor Lawrence is going to play in this game. We'll see if that happens, but he's trending
Yeah,
towards playing in this game.
I'll be quick. I don't want any part of the Jaguars. I think Tennessee gets a get right. Sorry, Titans get a get right game here. Sorry, Texans get a get right game. Because yeah, I can't get over that Tennessee Titan game. How do you lose that game? But yeah, Texans win
Um,
in the cover.
They better win this game, Gilbert. The Texans better win this game because we're gonna start looking at those, as we said, the Titans from 2 years ago, and then the Jaguars from last year, where they're just free falling, and we don't understand why because this team has so much talent on both sides of the ball, and I yeah, like and then the Jaguars played them tough that first matchup
Yeah.
earlier in the season. So I think the Jaguars cover here, but I think the Texans better win this game. I'm telling you, Gilbert, because then everybody's just they're gonna be out on the Texans
Hmm.
if they're not already. All right, Seahawks are -2, -2 point. They're 2 point favorites. The over under is 42.5 at the New York Jets.
I don't know why. I'm not gonna lean to this feeling, but it feels like a trap game. But I'm not going there. The Jets stink. I know they're coming off a bye week. Everybody wants Rodgers to retire. I'm not gonna fall for the okie doke. Oh, they're gonna show some fight here. No, give me the Seattle Seahawks here to cover.
Yeah, I'm with the I've liked what Mike McDonald has done. He's made the adjustments. Yeah, give me the Seahawks here. My only and the other thing is I think I saw the running back Brees Hall for the Jets. he hasn't practiced. We might not see him, especially
Mm,
coming off a bye. That is a little bit worrisome if you're the Jets because he's a big part of their offense. And so if he doesn't play, I know they have Braylon as their running back,
yeah.
as their backup, but I don't think he's gonna be great, but we'll see. But yeah, give me the Seahawks in this game, especially at that -2. I thought it'd be a bigger line. I don't understand why the Jets keep getting some of these lines.
No, I
I
don't
don't
get it either.
understand. All right, last one here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers coming off a really good game against the
Mhm.
Chiefs. I'm
I
surprised you didn't. I thought you
yeah.
might put this as one of your best bets.
I was gonna say that I was gonna maybe take Carolina, but the Buccaneers look pretty damn good. They get Mike Evans back, and they're finally starting to beat up on the
Yeah.
bad team. So I worry about that, but it's not my best bet. But I'm gonna take Carolina to cover +5.5 here. I like what David Canales is doing. Bryce Young looks better. They're at home. But yeah, Mike Evans really made a difference there for that entire team. Bucky Irving's playing well. You still got Kate Otten. You still got an outlet running back and Rashad White, and Baker Mayfield could probably carve up this defense here. So I think Buccaneers win, but I'll take the Panthers and a little bit risky cover here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think where the this makes a difference is the Buccaneers offense going up against the Panthers defense. I think the Panthers are going to be able to move the ball, but I just think, like it's 5.5. I think the Buccaneers win this game at least by a touchdown,
Mm,
and so I like the Buccaneers to
yeah,
cover. But I like the Buccaneers, and like I said, I'm rooting for the Buccaneers to make. Like I picked the Falcons to make the playoffs before the season to win the NFC South, but I'm out on the Falcons now. I'm with you. Like some of the teams you decided, hey, I'm out on the Bengals. I'm with the Falcons. I'm out already. I jumped ship. I want the Buccaneers to win this division because they continue to get injured and they continue to win games and somehow I just don't understand why Liam Cohen isn't getting more props here. Like the same thing I just talked about Vance Joseph. I don't understand why Liam Cohen isn't getting more love, especially for head coaching jobs
yeah.
after what he's done this season with the Buccaneers
They didn't win
and
those games early on when they lost a bunch of players, but they were damn competitive, and that's a credit to him.
Yep, we have a full slate of games, Gilbert. That is the last one for Week 13, Thanksgiving weekend. There's a lot of good games on here. If like I said, I think the Turkey Day games are going to be sneaky good. I was not thinking that way a couple weeks ago, but now I feel much better about this slate, and honestly, can't wait for this weekend. I know it sucks for people like you who have to write about it and have to work, but I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. If you're checking the replay, thanks for joining us. I know it's kind of crazy for a
Yeah,
lot of people, as you mentioned at the top, because everybody's traveling. I was traveling back home last season after our wedding, so yeah, I'm excited to be home this weekend and to enjoy. What do we get? Is it 4 out of 5 days of football of NFL? So
yeah, yeah.
that'll be exciting.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, and then Sunday and Monday.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, so it should be a good week for football. Enjoy Thanksgiving, everybody, and yeah, hopefully you're checking out the replay. And if you did, leave a comment. Even if you want to talk fantasy football, let us know. We'll get to it too as well. But we'll get back to our regular schedule next week, next Thursday here. So, uh, but yeah, it was a good chat here with Victor, and we broke down some good games here. But it's time to get going. And hopefully, if you haven't joined What's Up Bolts, they're live right now. That is on Wednesday night. They're covering that Falcons Chargers game. Very intriguing. We spoke about it briefly here today. We even had some best bets about it. But go join Fernando and that right now. But it's time to get going for us here. Ya nos vamos. Pues vámonos.